Thank you so much. Hi everyone. I think this is the last session before lunch. Yes, it's always a very, very tough thing to do. Especially if you've heard about all the exotic things that I was hearing when the previous speaker was speaking. That was mind-boggling stuff, right? So hopefully I'll try to make this quick and interesting and worthwhile for all of you. My name is Rajiv. Obviously, I lead GoDaddy in India. GoDaddy is a recent entrant. We entered the country about 10 months back when we set up operations over here. And we talk to a lot of people. Right? We talk to government, we talk to CEOs, we talk to partners, we talk to channel guys who want to sell stuff. The most exciting time is when we talk to developers. Right? That's the most refreshing part. And the reason we feel this refreshing is obviously because you're at the center of innovation. Right? The next big thing, you never know when the next big thing, the next big idea, the next thing that will be impacted will come out of here. Right? We all talk about, there's a lot of talk about companies like Microsoft and Facebook and Google. If you look at it, all of these companies were started by one developer sitting on his table who had an idea, started working on it, and then it became what it became. Right? So that's why we feel it's very refreshing to talk to developers. I want to thank Scott March and GIDS. It's, I think, after 4 years I'm coming back to this platform for giving us this opportunity. And thinking about impact, right? What better place than the internet, right? It's a platform that you can obviously create impact at scale. Now, which is when we sort of put two and two together. We said, let's come here, let's talk about all the developers who are sitting at this conference and think about what's happening with the internet and where it is going, right? So most of you will say, look, the internet, it's pervasive. It's everywhere, right? Whether it is 3G, whether it is the Wi-Fi hotspot, or whether it is the mobile dongle that you put in, or the line that you put in, I connected, it's there, it's a dumb pipe, right? What's so exciting about the internet, right? Well, let's see if there are some things that will excite hopefully all of you, and if there are opportunities, more importantly, that you can see that are going to come, especially in India, right? Now, thinking about the net, we're just really, while it is all there, it's always there, it's always on. The irony is, we're just scratching the surface on the internet. So, if you look at the slide, right, in a world of 7 billion people, just about under a quarter of a million domains. Quarter of a billion domains, right? 7 billion people, 250 million domains. If you look at the traffic's going to quadruple by 4x in the sort of 2010 to 2015 period that we are on. 4x. There are very few places in the world, or businesses in the world, or industries in the world, which are going to see that kind of growth in the coming 3 or 4 years. Closer home to India, we're about 130 to 150 million connected users. That's the internet population. Most of us are aware of that, right? Depending on which data point you look, about 130, 150 million people are connected to the internet. That number alone puts us as the number 3rd country worldwide in terms of the internet population. Right? It's pretty big. It's US, China, India. That's it. Right? But if you think about that number, that's just 10% of our population. So think about it. At 10% penetration in this country, we are the 3rd largest internet population in the world. Right? China is about 40, US is about 80% penetration. Right? Those are the 3 big guys that's how the internet population is working. What's interesting though is, when you think about that 80% penetration in US, that's growing at probably 1% year on year, essentially flat, right? If you look at China, the big sort of giant we keep on talking about, that 40% is growing at about 10%. India is the fastest growing internet nation, 40% growth, right? So if you put all that math together, what you realize, here's a country which is number 3 in absolute terms today, right? Has only 10% penetration, so 90% of the market is still out there, and it's growing the fastest. There is not a single place I can think of which is going to have that kind of growth in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And that's why I say it's just scratching the surface. Domain name penetration in India, just 3%. Very, very few domains, right? Just 3% penetration. Only about 500,000 websites. So this slide, hopefully, and we always use this as the opening slide whenever we talk about the internet in India, because this gets half the people excited any which way, right? Because you see opportunity, you see white space, you see a growth that is happening, and you can see a runway for the next 3 to 4 years. But what's even more exciting is what's going to happen in this space in the coming 3 or 4 years. So let's sort of spend some time on that. The first thing is obviously new devices. Now most of you are aware of this story. I was sitting through the earlier keynotes and I saw that most people were talking proliferation of devices, blah, 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 right? But the fact is, just about, I think, a few months back, smartphones, right, they actually surpassed the number of PCs that are getting sold worldwide, right? So for the first time you have a device which you carry in your pocket, which is obviously internet, it's very smart, has all the capabilities that we are aware of, right? But can access, more and more people are now going to access the internet through that device than just a PC that we're used to, right? What that means? That obviously means that if you look at the mobile traffic, that's growing faster than the desktop traffic, right? So that's the second graph that you see on the slide, which is obviously coming down. And I think last year sometime, mobile traffic as a percentage became 10% of the overall traffic that is accessed on the net worldwide, right? But in India, it's growing even faster. In India, the mobile internet has actually far surpassed the desktop traffic. Today, 60% of all access in India is happening on devices which are not a PC, not a laptop, not a desktop, right? So here's a very good example of an area where India is leading the world, right? Where while the mobile traffic is rising worldwide, in India, you actually see it's far surpassing there. Obviously, the last thing is about wearable technology, stuff that was spoken about earlier, or appliances, more and more appliances, whether it is glasses, whether it is watches, whether it is refrigerators, or all kinds of appliances coming, making it the Internet of Things. What that means for developers obviously means more opportunities, right? For new kinds of applications, new kinds of scenarios. But it also creates a challenge. When you have so many devices, Gartner actually predicts that by the time I think we cross on 2016 or some year, which is not that far off, every individual on this planet will have at least 6 devices, which are internet connected, right? That's every individual, regardless of which segment of society, which country you're living in, or which continent you're living in. That's a lot of internet connections. And what happens then? Right, the internet's running out of address space. We all know that, right? So it's IPv4, which is getting completely exhausted, and therefore the world's already established a new standard called IPv6. It's like the year 2000 when you have that, that challenge there. It's the same challenge around IPv6. We were sitting with the government and talking about what to do with IPv6, and we realized what a huge challenge that is, right? It's not just one company or one provider or people who are giving websites who have to turn to IPv6, but all the devices, all your routers, all your access points, all your service providers have to move there, right? So therein is a huge opportunity, but also challenges, right? That hopefully something from the developer ecosystem will solve some of those or take advantage of just this one aspect of change that's coming in India. If new devices were not enough, you have a new naming system, right? Today, if you go and you search for a domain name, right, which is where your internet identity is formed, you typically see a box like the left-hand side box. You come to GoDaddy.com, you type in your brand name, you choose from the choices, which is .com, net, or biz, whatever, or you will choose a country-specific domain like .in, .de, .fr, .us. Now, ICANN has been working on a project for a couple of years, and this year they're introducing generic TLD, right, or generic domain name extensions. So sometime this year, GoDaddy is actually going to take that box off, right? So today when you go and you see the big search box, you just type in what kind of domain name or what kind of name you want, right? The extension is irrelevant right now because there is going to be generic extensions. And these extensions are going to be on those 4 themes, right? .brand. So for example, you can have a .google or .microsoft or .tata or .reliance, right? You can have .geo, so .bangalore or .delhi or .boston, .india. You can have, generic like .shop, .pizza, .hotel, or .community. Developers, testers, architects, designers, doctors, lawyers, lawyers, whatever. That's different, right? That's a huge opportunity. Again, why? How does this change stuff? Well, in one sense, it changes from dumb search to smart search. Let me give you an example. I land in Bangalore, I want a hotel. What do I do today? I pull up my device or whatever desktop and I go to Google, I type in Bangalore hotels, I get a link, I go to the first 10, 15, I'm not able to find, a really clean way, right, of finding hotels in Bangalore. With this naming system, you can have .bangalore. So I can say hotels.bangalore, I can say taxis.bangalore, I can say restaurants.bangalore. I don't have to go to a site, search and then reach. I can simply reach this page and I can get a listing and I can do that. That's just one application, right? But there are also challenges because not only can I say hotels.bangalore, I can also say bangalore.hotels. Now which one are you going to say, right? So it opens the door or it opens the challenges for all kinds of brand manipulation, for all kinds of phishing attacks. How this stuff gets implemented is still getting worked out. But therein is an opportunity and therein is a challenge, right? Second aspect, you're going to have internationalized domain name, right? So the government of India this year sometime is going to launch .bharat, right, for local language. Now .bharat, you can have Rajiv.bharat, and that could be my identity, my Indian identity, you know, in my local language. But some of the stuff, and we were debating this, right, is when you go into Hindi, which is a far more complex script, right? Let me give you an example there, the kind of challenge that comes there. So you have Grehe, it's a Hindi word. Grehe means home, right? So you can have Rajiv.grehe, which means it's a website or it's an address for my home. You also have Grehe, which is spelled a little differently in Hindi, which means a planet, right? Grehe. Now think about a magazine like Grehe Shobha. You're going to see a word which says magazine.grehe Shobha or something like that, right? It has the first Grehe, right, or the second Grehe. Most of us are not that evolved in Hindi or don't remember Hindi that much that we can figure out which one is the original one, which one is that, right? So these are challenges that again require a lot of innovative solutions, a lot of thought going into it, but this is definitely a big opportunity that will change how internet sites, internet properties are named, how they are referenced, how they are searched, how they are looked upon, how they are recognized. And there again is one opportunity that developers can take a look at. Let's come to languages, right? Now when I was a developer, language was probably the most boring part. You had languages, you had internationalization, localization, fonts. All of that stuff was pretty boring, right? Because there were far more intelligent and complex problems that I had to solve. Language typically meant take one thing and just replicate that into 50 different languages, right? But in India, you can read the slide and all the statistics, but the one thing that I want to share over here, right? There are two things that we need to remember in India, right? 300 million and 800 million, right? 300 million urban population, 800 million rural population. And so if you just put that into perspective, you realize that if this internet growth is going to happen in India, guess where more and more users are going to come from? It's obviously the rural part, which is the 800 million part. And what do rural users, how will they access internet? That's obviously the local language, right? So if today the internet in India is typically driven by urban India, people like you and me, who live in Bangalore, who live in Delhi, who live in Gurgaon, access English content, and that's what the 120 million people that I spoke about, that's what these guys are, that's what they're accessing. They access Facebook, right? If you look at the top drivers of internet today in India, that's email, social networking, entertainment. Let's pick social networking. So Facebook is the big guy there. We all access Facebook. But if you think about rural India, you know, farmer's not going to go on the internet to do Facebook, right? But does he need social networking? He probably does. Is this circle of influence as wide as ours, where we have friends and colleagues and relatives and all kinds of people living all over the world? Probably not. This is probably much more confined. So is there a social networking platform that we can build for that, right? The biggest problem in rural internet is going to be language and relevance, right? We have to build stuff that is in local language because that's what will drive penetration. And we have to build stuff which is relevant to people so that they actually acquire those applications. Today, most of these applications, most of the stuff that happens on the internet is probably not relevant to rural India. But if we've got a clip at the growth that we are seeing in India and that we want to achieve, innovative solutions from developers will have to come which target these scenarios, which look at the rural population and build specific applications for that. All right? And then the last part is my favorite, which is new type of customers. So today, the internet, like I said, is driven more by youth, more by people who are in urban India, more by individuals who basically access email, networking, and entertainment. But India as we all know, is a land of small businesses, right? In fact, over 95% of all businesses in India are small businesses, less than 5 employees, right? These are people who are getting that much more aware that they've got to come online, they have to establish an online identity, and they have to do their business online in order to be competitive. The beauty about this market is that this can jump technology curves very fast, okay? So what you see on the right hand side, and you're actually able to see only 3 lines, but the yellow and the green line, that's actually, the yellow line is how fixed line phone was there in the US, and green line is how mobile phone evolved in the US. So when mobile was introduced, after some time you can actually see that the green line overtook the yellow line. It's pretty obvious, right? There's a very flat line running right at the bottom of the horizontal axis. That's a light blue line, I'm sorry about the colors. That's the fixed line in India, right? Which is kind of lagging behind. And what you see on the black is the mobile adoption that happened in India. So while the world graduated in a sequential manner, India slippily leapfrogged, right, into the mobile generation, and obviously we skipped 2G, etc., we're straight into 3G, thinking about 4G right now, right? So this is a market which can very quickly jump technology curve. It's happening again with mobile, right? While most Western countries had a desktop, then they graduated to a laptop, then they got a smartphone. India, as was recently pointed out, and as we know, is simply jumping straight into mobile. So much so that our mobile traffic is far surpassing the desktop traffic. It's happening in cloud, right? Where most SMBs in the Western world have a very high degree of dependency on IT. India is not like that, but we are going to jump straight from on-premise straight into the cloud world, right? With more and more SMBs adopting cloud-based solutions. So why is this so exciting? This is exciting because these SMBs do not have any legacy, they don't have any baggage, they don't have in technology terms, right? And therefore, the moment you make them aware of technology, the moment you solve the problem of scale and access, and the moment you give them something which is relevant for their business, right, adoption simply zooms. And that's the market that's going to come online in India in the next 2 or 3 years. Okay? So hopefully, my intention here was to sort of give 3 or 4 different aspects as to why internet is going to be so exciting in India, where we are right now, where we are going. And it's in this world that my clicker has died, right? And it's in this world that we, okay, that's where we live, right? That's what GoDaddy is all about. Now most people think GoDaddy is the world's largest domain registrar. Some other people think that we are the largest provider of hosting and websites. Some other people think we issue the most amount of digital certificates, right? We are all of that. We're the world's largest provider of internet infrastructure for small businesses. This is where you take birth in the online world. So if you need anything for your business, you get it online, you get it at GoDaddy, right? How large are we? You can read some numbers there, but the simplest way to understand is that 1/3 of all internet runs through us. The moment you open up a browser and you type something, it is 30% of the time coming to our data center and then going out. Right? The scale that GoDaddy has, we are larger than the next 10 competitors combined. So that's the kind of market share we enjoy. Why am I sharing this? Is because if there is one thing that matters in SMB, it is scale. If you solve a problem for 1,000 SMBs or 2,000 or 10,000 or 20,000, doesn't make a difference. That's not going to cause the market to come over. But when you start doing it for hundreds or thousands and millions of SMB customers like we do, that's when you can call the shift. And with all this effort, we've just achieved 10%. Obviously, with more focused effort, with your participation and partnership, we can achieve even more. What are we doing in India? Well, I can talk about the whole product portfolio, but obviously I have a very limited time over here. We're essentially taking Indian small businesses online. That's our mission as a company. So if any of you have a good idea about how to take SMBs online, we'd love to talk. Because that's what we believe in, that's what we are focused on. And we're doing this through 3 very simple steps. First is bring them online. That's when you take a domain, you take a website, and you kind of establish your online presence. Second, you have tools, right, which have been developed so that you as a business can go and attract more customers, right? And then the third piece is to run my business well. I was going through the report of the countries right? And how easy it is to start up a business in any of those countries. And in a list of 180 countries, guess what India's rank was? 173, 160, it's kind of improved a little bit, but I mean 160, 173 is not the point. It should have been either in top 3, top 5, top 10, or if not the top, right? And we started looking at the processes of why is it 173. It turns out there are some 45 to 50 processes that a business has to do before he is able to set up a full online identity. Now using technology and using what I'm showing you here, if we can take some pain out of there, that's when we'll make ourselves relevant to India and impact the SMB market so that they come online. That's what we are going towards, and that's what our mission is. So why should this be of interest to you? Well, the first thing is, this is the broadest, biggest, and most flexible platform that you can partner on. This is a platform that's working in a space that's about to experience explosive growth if it's not experiencing it already, right? This is a platform where you can get access to an SMB market, which is the largest SMB market in the world, which is about to come online. China has already done it, US has already done, India is the next one which has enough scale that's going to come online in the coming 3 or 4 years. And through this slide, what I'm trying to show is we can get you started much faster. So if you are thinking about an idea, right, which is on these lines, we'd love to talk. If you want to start a web business and capitalize on these opportunities that we were talking about, we can get you started in no time. No upfront investment, no infrastructure requirement, no business requirement. Let's start getting online and get customers, your associates to come on this online. You have two broad choices. You can either become a full reseller, that means you want to start your web business, right? In which case we'll give you all the tools, all the infrastructure, all the technology. Or in other case, if you have another business which attracts a lot of traffic, you can become an affiliate and we pay you for every customer that you help us convert, right? So the fact is, I do encourage each one of you to come to GoDaddy, look at the URLs and the numbers there, check that out, see if it matters in your business. But I can assure you, this is going to be one heck of a ride, and I don't want anyone in India, any web developer, any person who's in the industry to actually miss on this ride, right? That's what I wanted to share. So, in summary, it's a pretty exciting place both globally and in India. In India, even more so, like we discussed, for the number of factors where India, we believe, is going to leapfrog the world, right? We've just entered India. We're very focused on this market. Our single purpose mission is to get small businesses online, and I look forward to all kinds of partnering with each and every one of you. If you have, that's what your focus is. If you want to get SMBs online, do talk to us. Thank you so much.